Hello. How's it going? Oh, before I begin, I have realized that I say all the freaking time in my video. So this one, I'm going to work very hard to not say um. So it may appear that I'm going to talk a little slower, more deliberately, which I suppose I should get in the habit of doing anyway if I continue this path. So hopefully I get through this without saying like I apparently do every other word. So, last month I had a series of heart attacks, and it was wonderful. At 36 years old. Wonderful. So, what happened, I started having chest pains about a week before. No! Okay, that was one. That was one. Hopefully, that's the only I might put a counter on the bottom. I'm getting there. I'll be working on it. I almost did one right there. So, I started having chest pains about a week before I actually started having the heart attacks. And if you watch any of my other videos, uh, hmm, you would not have been very surprised. And I've really only gotten into a little bit of all the terrible things that I did to my body. And, I did already write a companion piece that I am going to publish on Medium that I will share the links to. Because I do like to write. And it is something I do enjoy doing, but I have to have a reason. And I figured that I might start doing companion pieces. One big part was just so I could stop saying because that's what people suggested, was writing out your ideas, bullet points. And I started to do that, and I ended up just writing, and it was great. Almost did it. That was almost an I don't know if that counts. So that might be what I start doing from here on out. I might even go back and write some companion pieces to the videos I already have up. Because again, I do enjoy writing. And it's a completely different medium. I can get different ideas a little bit more refined. So yeah, if you like, go ahead and check that out. But anyway, so yes, I have been very deep in my meditation practice. And it was funny because just a week before the chest pain started, I had noticed that during a body scan that I keep all my tension in my chest. I could release or relax most of my body, but for some reason I would always keep tension in my chest and in my shoulders. So when I started having the pains, I thought perhaps it was just a muscle spasm because, again, I couldn't really release the tension in my chest. And it would only happen in the morning, and for about 2 minutes, and I would rub it, and it felt like a knot, like right there, and after a couple minutes of rubbing, it felt like fluid would get released down to my side. So I thought, I don't know if I really felt the fluid in the beginning part. I know it felt like a muscle spasm, a knot in my chest right there, and I would rub it, and again, after 2 minutes, it would just go away. And I would only have it once in the morning, typically right when I got to work. Shoot. Okay, I think I'm at like three or four ums. I think I'm still doing better than I have in my other videos. I'll get there. So again, I thought it was just muscle pain. And after a week of this, again, it would only happen in the morning. I would rub my chest and it would go away completely. No lingering pain, nothing. So I would honestly just forget about it, which was great because once I told my doctors this, they said they would have sent me home anyway from the way that I described it. They would have probably just given me some aspirin or Tylenol and sent me home. But it wasn't until a week after the pain started, that morning, the day before I went into the hospital, as I was getting ready to get onto my forklift, I started to have the pain, but this time it was more severe, and my knees started to get a little weak. It was, shoot, it's fine. Yes, my knees started to get a little weak. I had a tightness in my chest, the same tightness, but it was deeper, and I couldn't breathe very well. But I was under a lot of stress at the time. A lot of things were going on. I was really thinking about this YouTube channel and all the things I wanted to do. Plus, all my debts and yada, yada, yada. Stuff at work wasn't going terrific. So I just thought, hey, stress, muscle, blah, blah. So I think a little bit throughout the day, I probably had them a couple more times. But again, it still wasn't very, very severe. It wasn't until that night, the night before I went into the hospital, actually sitting right here in this seat playing Hogwarts Legacy. Because most of the time I was an alcoholic, I would play strategy games, very slow paced city builder games that I could pause, that there was very little stress or pressure. Games that weren't fast paced because I really couldn't keep up because I was always inebriated. My reflexes just weren't fast enough, and my anxiety just wouldn't allow me to. Okay, I know I've gotten a lot of ums. It's fine. We'll be working on it. So, I'm sitting here playing Hogwarts Legacy, and that was actually I had put it on hard mode because I wanted some excitement, because I wasn't used to exciting games that induce stress. So I'm sitting here and things are going on. I'm fighting, I don't know, spiders or something, wands going, cause as a Hufflepuff, because, I'm a badger. So I'm sitting here, and as I'm playing and fighting these imaginary creatures, I can feel my heart tightening up my chest, and it's just getting more and more painful as I'm going. Let me just mute that guy. And as I'm sitting here playing the game, and I'm thinking it's just a panic attack at this point, because again, I don't really play stressful games, and most of my mental health recovery has almost exclusively focused on the depression side of my mental health. And I have focused very little on the anxiety part, because that wasn't as important at the time, because the depression is what was the scariest part of my mental health and my suicidal ideations. So the anxiety was just, I can deal with that. And I figured that would just go away, but I hadn't focused on it specifically. So that's what I thought it was, which is a panic attack from me playing this game. So eventually I turned off the game because I'm like, oh, this is not feeling great. So, but when I turned the game off, the pain just kept getting worse. And I know at some point I started to get up, and I got to right behind where this camera is. And maybe I'll give a brief. But yeah, my knees gave out. I was basically on the floor for about 2 or 3 minutes, could barely breathe. And it was scary. I didn't know what was going on. But again, I thought this has to just be a panic attack, which I wasn't really used to. I don't know. I know I've had a couple, but they were minor and so far apart that I really didn't know the physical sensations, or I wasn't sure exactly. So when it stopped, and again, it was like all the other pains where it would last for about 2 minutes and would completely go away. And in my infinite wisdom, I decided to go check Google. And because was convinced that I'm like, well, either this is a panic attack or I don't think it's a heart attack. And I Googled, and they said, oh, well, it could just be chest, muscle spasm or muscle pain. And as long as, your left arm isn't going numb, then it's not a heart attack. But obviously, I should seek medical attention. But it was already 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm already in debt. So when I saw that it probably wasn't a heart attack, and I saw that there was an urgent care literally 2 or 3 blocks away that opened at 6 or 7 o'clock a.m., maybe 8, I knew that the urgent care would be cheaper than me going to the emergency room. And since Google said it probably wasn't a heart attack because my left arm wasn't going numb, I figured, it could wait. But of course, I had about 2 other of those attacks, 2 or 3, maybe 4, especially when I was asleep. Every time I turned, it felt like death. I'm not gonna lie, but at that point, I'd already decided there was a few times I really wanted to call my roommate and ask him to take me or call 911. But again, I was thinking about the money, which is foolish. Understandable, but foolish. So then comes the next day, and I get ready. Luckily in the morning, and again, I would have the attack, and once it went away, there was no lingering pain. So it was easy for me to just say, tomorrow, it's just got a few more hours. It can't be a heart attack because I've had a few of these already, and aren't you just supposed to die or something when you have a heart attack? That's what my thought process was at the time. So this had to be something else. Something that could wait until tomorrow where I wouldn't have to pay as much money. So I got up, got ready, was feeling fine, even ate breakfast, I believe, and got dressed with no real problems, and started to walk outside towards urgent care, and got to my car right outside and immediately had an attack. And this one lasted a long time. So that was probably my first real heart attack. I'm assuming the other ones, I guess, probably were as well, just not as severe. But this one, that morning, was probably the most severe. I got out to my car and just sat down for 20 minutes because I couldn't walk anymore until it subsided. And then after a while, I decided that I was going to try to walk again because I wasn't going to drive because I didn't want to put people at risk, and it was just going up the street. And I didn't want to take an Uber because I didn't want an Uber driver to come just to take me a few blocks. Again, foolish. But at the time, I could do this. So again, I started to walk again and got to the end of the block before I had another attack, and ended up walking back. Had to just sit out in the front in the front of my house for a little while, and eventually called my uncle because he's older and wiser, and I figured he would tell me. And if I was overreacting, he would tell me that too. So after telling him what was going on, he advised me to go to the emergency room, which I did immediately after. And luckily, since that one was further away, they were going to come and take me, but that was going to take another 40 minutes, and it was a $12 Uber ride to the emergency room. So away I go. And I get there, and of course, apparently I got there on one of the busiest days they've had. It was just a little bit after the New Year's. No, I guess it was February. I don't know why it was so busy. But it took a while to get seen. And in the emergency room, I probably had another 3 heart attacks. Again, I didn't know these were heart attacks at the time. Actually, I didn't know until after they put the stent in my heart because I think they didn't want to tell me. So, yes, I'm sitting there and just the attacks would last about 2 or 3 minutes, and I'd just be sitting there, just legs going out. I could barely move. I could barely talk. I could barely breathe. And it was scary. I will admit that it was scary, and probably the most painful thing I've ever gone through. It was scary. It was scary, especially because I didn't know what the heck was going on. I knew I had done terrible, terrible, terrible things to my body over the years, and it wasn't shocking that my body would rebel against me. But this hurt and it was painful, and I had no idea what was going on. Luckily, I was already so deep in my meditation practice. That's all I did the entire first day I was in the hospital. The entire time I was in the emergency room, I didn't go on my phone except to text my family to let them know what was going on. But in between attacks, the only thing I did was meditate, which was very easy because the attacks were so painful that once they went away, that's all I wanted to meditate on was how happy I was to not be feeling that, even if it was just for a little bit. So they take me back. I tell them what's going on. They hook me up. From there, they take me right up to the emergency or to the cardiac. So I get admitted after I get the into the emergency room. I spend a few hours there, get admitted. Aunt and uncle come and visit me. And over the course of that day, I had at least, especially while I was sitting in the in behind in the waiting room, actually, in the back, hooked up to stuff to the blood pressure machine, and I think that had other stuff attached. I believe from that time, from the time I got to the hospital, all through the night until the next day that I had my, I always forget what it's called. Cool. Where are you? Coronary angiogram. I had that the next day, and that's when they found out. But before they were able to stick a tube right there, that's the only way you know that I had heart surgery. See, but that little guy, they stuck a tube right up there, straight into my heart to see what the heck was going on. But until I got to that point, I had probably between 10 and 15 heart attacks. And again, I had no idea these were actually heart attacks. They were very careful on the terminology they were using before I got the angiogram. And what's funny is I had a lot of talks with the nurses and my diet routine. I had been working on my diet for a year at that point, been cutting out the sweets, getting very healthy, eating salads, intermittent fasting. I hadn't started working out yet, but that was the next thing, one step at a time. And I was getting there. I was doing great. So I get the angiogram? Yes. Coronary angiogram. And they find out that my left anterior descending, the LAD, was 90% blocked, which is one of 2 or 3 of your main valves, I think, in your heart, and right below what they call the widowmaker. Because apparently when the block gets up to that point, most people don't make it into the hospital in time. And my blockage was right below that. At 36 years old and 180 pounds, should not have been that way for a normal person. But again, considering what I had done to my body over the years, it did not surprise me. And we'll get into a lot more of the facts onto exactly what I've done to my body over the years in time. So once they found the LAD was 90% blocked in one of my smaller arteries or valves or something was 60 to 70% blocked, I believe. So that one they put a balloon in. So once they put that tube up my arm, the tube goes, I guess, right up your arm and right into your heart with a little camera, which is amazing. They saw exactly what was going on. So and once they did, another doctor who comes in, some sort of cardiologist or cardiac surgery person, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff going on. So they came in, got I guess they stick a balloon up there for one of the arteries to get rid of that one, and I think they took that one down from 60% blockage to about 30%, which I guess is great, or considering. And my LAD, they had to put a stent in to open it up. So now it went from 90% to 100%. No, oh no, no. If it was 100% blocked, I would be dead. No, it went from 90% blocked to 0% blocked with a stent. But now I have a whole host of medications that I have to take to make sure that it stays that way. But it was amazing. Modern technology. And what's doubly amazing is if I was living the way that I used to live just a couple years beforehand, I probably would be dead. I know this because I probably wouldn't have gone to the hospital. I wouldn't have called my uncle to ask. I would have just kept drinking and hoping I just fell asleep. I can pretty much, I can't say for sure exactly what I would have done, but I know my mentality when I was drinking and in deep depression. And if I was drinking, I was in a deep depression. So they both went hand in hand for me. One of the reasons I don't even think about drinking anymore, because I feel so freaking great all the time mentally that I would never want to go back to that. But it was amazing. I was awake for the whole thing, by the way. I think they gave me some numbing agent and some Valium or something. Oh, yeah, no, yeah. I think they kept trying to give me, I don't know, some type of opiate, but I refused. So they ended up giving me, I didn't want to because, yeah, I have a history with addiction and I didn't want to try anything else that might affect that. So they gave me the smallest dose and everything went great. I had a great, amazing team of doctors and nurses. My meetings with the cardiologist were great. We talked about meditation. She loved where I was already because, again, all my levels were great. My blood work was great. Cholesterol was slightly high, but really was barely high. But now with the stent, it needs to be a lot lower. I have to be around a 50, which will be fun. But again, I've been eating fruits and vegetables and Greek yogurt, sardines. I've been obsessed with canned fish. I think probably because my body's just been craving those omega-3s since this happened. But overall, I've recovered extremely well. I was back to work. I think I had the heart surgery on Wednesday, I believe. And I was discharged by Friday, and back to work on Monday. Luckily, with the doctor's note saying that I couldn't lift heavy stuff, so I just got to stay on my forklift. And when they told me to do things I didn't want to do, doctor's note, nope, which was great. And the great thing about it also is it's just pushed me more to fix things that I want to do in my life anyway. Because again, I hadn't really been working on anxiety, and even though I recovered fairly quickly, I could feel anxiety very much on my heart. And there were a lot of process addictions that I had really been dealing with that I hadn't really made any progress towards, like my addiction to true crime and bad driver and car crash videos and public freak out videos, which is just, I got into those when I was in really deep depression. I think I wanted what I was consuming to match what I was feeling inside. And it was hard for me to get rid of, but with the heart attack, I could feel the anxiety building up watching those videos when I got home. So slowly but surely, I just kept telling YouTube, don't suggest this to me. Don't. And I had been dealing with that addiction for a long time and really hadn't tried working on it. But hey, positive news or positive effect from something bad. This is one of the many things. I've been working back on my health, started cardiac rehab last week. Going to be going strong on that. Great group of people there. I am the youngest person in the cardiac rehab by many, many decades. Because again, 36-year-old who's not obese. I think I was slightly overweight even, when I was drinking, but I never got to the obese point. No blood pressure problems. My diet was getting better. Like I said, my levels were great. Especially when I finally went to go see my primary care doctor, which again, I hadn't gone for years, but I made sure I went to one after this. So a lot of changes, a lot of pushes in the right direction. And if you could have seen this doctor's face when he was going over my stats and the fact that I had a heart attack. And I know he just kept looking for a valid reason, but then I told him about my alcoholism and that I was addicted to cigarettes by the time I was in middle school. I was smoking on a daily basis, which I'm sure had a lot to do with it as well, and the fact that I was an alcoholic from the time I was 19 on. So a lot of things. But his face, he just kept looking at my. This was literally his face. And how many heart attacks? Just going on, just like, okay, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll keep checking in. Because again, my diet is great now, even better since it's happened. I'm with the cardiac rehab. I'm going to continue my exercise monitored. I have a great support system. I am in great spirits. I did dip a little bit down into a little bit of a depression. But it wasn't just the heart attack. It was the YouTube channel. I wasn't working on it. I seemed a little stuck. A lot of processing, which I really hadn't done until today. Today was a good day because I wrote, and now I'm making this video. And I think most of the processing will be done. I'm sure there'll be a little bit here and there. But it feels good. It feels good. I've gotten it all off my chest, and I don't need anything on my chest right now. Because, hey, buddy. He's still holding on. I don't know how long, but I'm going to keep making sure that I keep feeding. I've gotten so obsessed with these. And again, I think my body has just been craving these since I started. But look at. I've gotten a little obsessed. Oh, look, sardines. I never liked sardines. Kipper snacks are great. Mackerels. Oh, Nuris. Even though I don't know if they're worth the $8, I just had to try them. But I'm obsessed. Because I think I need a lot of omega-3s, and these are just terrific. But that's for another time. So, I think that will do it. Just wanted to make this video finally just talk about the heart attack, because I haven't fully processed it. I haven't talked about it this much, I don't think, in this much detail. And again, with the writing, that was a lot more detailed and a lot more refined about how I was really feeling at the time. So please, if you have time, go ahead and give it a read. Again, I will post it down there. Or, yeah, give it a read if you like. If not, it's out there. Somebody will read it, maybe. I don't know. But I'm glad I wrote it, and I'm glad I made this video. And I'm glad I'm done, because hopefully I don't really need to talk about it anymore. Or not much, only for good reasons. But with that, and that is my godmother, who's actually, looks like she's watching my last video. So I'm pushing things out pretty quickly. I'm really getting into the groove. I like this. It feels good, makes me feel better. And I've gotten a lot of positive reception from it, and it seems to have helped people already. So I'm going to keep doing it. Hopefully, my heart doesn't give out. If I have time on this planet, I will keep going. That is my plan. So yeah, I hope you have a good day. Hope you are having a good day, and I hope you will have a good day. Thank you. Bye.